have breaking news here. I don't know that I've heard of a coach being traded in the All-Star game.
Caitlin Clark is a menace, man. She literally kicked Cheryl Reeve off the team.
Clark traded Cheryl Reeve, who was the coach of her team.
We've already discussed we are going to trade coaches. B's going to take her coach. Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rule. Sorry, ESPN, if that's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule.
Right now.
Caitlin just gave her a straight up, man, forget you and get off my team.
Caitlin Clark just did the unthinkable. She fired her hater coach Cheryl Reeve right in the middle of the All-Star draft and built a no haters allowed dream team instead. Fans are calling it the most savage move in WNBA history. If you're 100% Team Caitlin, drop a comment below and let's show her some love. Let's get into what really went down.
The WNBA All-Star Draft was fun between Caitlin Clark and Nafisa Collier, the team captains, picking the players, picking the rosters. But the most interesting aspect was the coach swap.
When the WNBA All-Star Draft began, everyone expected it to be just another lighthearted, feel-good event.
Caitlin Clark just made the funniest All-Star selections ever. She picked her friends. She made sure she picked no ops, as people like to call them.
Players would pick their rosters, some jokes would fly around, and the coaches would smile and stand in place for the cameras. But Caitlin Clark had other plans.
Clark traded Cheryl Reeve, who was the coach of her team, or was to be the coach of her team, to Collier for Sandy Brondello, the coach of the New York Liberty. Of course, Reeve is Collier's head coach for the Minnesota Lynx.
As one of the two captains, she was automatically paired with Cheryl Reeve, who was supposed to coach her team for the game.
Cheryl Reeves, I get it. You have the best record in the WNBA so far. You want as many plays as you can on the All-Star team.
That's just how it works. The coaches with the best records get assigned to the All-Star squads.
The drama is going to come from Reeve having previously been critical on social media about the amount of attention Clark received relative to the rest of the league.
But anyone who has followed Caitlin's journey knows that Cheryl Reeve was no ordinary coach in her story.
The same way you didn't give two shits about Caitlin Clark's fan base and all that, don't nobody give two shits about your crying. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that you're coaching Caitlin Clark's team, I don't understand why you had to make it a big deal and say, oh, well, this team's below us to have more plays and us and it's disappointing. And like, what are you talking about?
For months, Reeve had publicly criticized Clark, dismissing the attention she brings to the league, reportedly downplaying her achievements, and even deleting tweets after they were called out for being hostile.
You already kept her off the Olympics. Now you're going to complain about her having more teammates than your players on the court? Yeah, get the fuck off this team. Embarrassing. I know she was embarrassed. I don't care what nobody say. I know she was embarrassed.
Reeve's name has also been floated as one of the people influencing Clark's Olympic snub, though she denied having any official role in the decision. So when the time came to discuss trades during the draft, Caitlin didn't hesitate.
To be completely honest, I love my team. I think they're great. I don't have any intentions of really trading any of them.
She leaned into the microphone, calm and confident, and made a statement that stunned the room. She said she was happy with her team, loved her roster,
But I think we've already discussed we are going to trade coaches. B's going to take her coach.
but then added, I don't know if this is in the rules, but I don't really care. We're going to trade coaches.
Clark traded Cheryl Reeve, who was the coach of her team, or was to be the coach of her team, to Collier for Sandy Brondello, the coach of the New York Liberty. Of course, Reeve is Collier's head coach for the Minnesota Lynx.
In that moment, she publicly fired Cheryl Reeve from her All-Star team, replacing her with Sandy Brondello, head coach of the New York Liberty and one of the most respected figures in the league. There was a split second of silence before the crowd and players erupted.
And I love the fact she traded Cheryl Reeve. That's my favorite part of it all. She traded her coach.
Some laughed, some gasped, and even Reeve herself looked caught completely off guard.
We have breaking news here. I don't know that I've heard of a coach being traded in the All-Star game. This is something you're agreeing to, Fee. There's no terms to this deal.
The ESPN broadcast team scrambled to keep up, calling it one of the most unexpected moves they'd ever seen at an All-Star event.
Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rule. Sorry, ESPN, if that's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule.
But Caitlin didn't back down. With a smirk, she doubled down and added, sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule.
Yo, did y'all see Caitlin's face, bro? She was like, Nobody cares. That is hilarious, man. Man, I lost my mind when they said that. Oh my goodness. Now, the way they were talking about it, it seemed like something that was premeditated or, predetermined before they got on live here.
That line alone sent social media into a frenzy, with fans declaring it the ultimate power move. This wasn't just about swapping coaches for strategy. This was about setting boundaries, about letting the entire league know she wasn't here to take disrespect from anyone, not even a coach with championship credentials.
And Caitlyn is making sure she's stone-faced. She's like, why did you say me, Bounce? I'm gonna get blamed for this.
After months of being undermined, snubbed, and criticized in public, Caitlin Clark stood her ground and made it clear. She will not share a bench with someone who hasn't believed in her.
With the WNBA, it's a little different because so many people are new. So many fans are new, that is. So they're just becoming familiar with a lot of these teams and a lot of these players. And last year, there was the Caitlin Clark versus the Olympics storyline. This year, of course, you don't have that as naturally baked in, but now Clark's going up against Cheryl Reeve, and Clark is clicked up with her Indiana Fever teammates.
The trade wasn't just approved, it was celebrated. Players on both sides, and even some of the commentators, called it iconic. Fans flooded social media with praise, saying it was about time someone stood up to the double standards in politics in the league.
As far as the coach swap went, that again was going to be the most talked about and will be probably the most talked about thing. Here is how that went down on the ESPN broadcast between the two captains.
Starter for starter, reserve for reserve. The good news is you can't go wrong with this type of talent. Anyone looking to make a deal here?
For Caitlin, this wasn't simply a clever draft day stunt. It was a clear, unapologetic message to everyone watching. She's here to lead, on her terms, and she won't let anyone, not even her assigned coach, diminish her light. After making headlines by firing Cheryl Reeve in front of the entire league,
I think Caitlin's got a better team. I think Caitlin's got a better team because of, again, with Boston and Wilson, they're not going to get beat up inside. I love Gabby's versatility, and then I just think they got more shooting across the board.
Caitlin Clark turned her attention to what really mattered, building the perfect team to represent her at the All-Star game. And just like her bold coaching swap, she approached the draft with sharp focus and a clear vision. Surround herself with players who support her, players she trusts, and absolutely no haters.
She actually passed up on Paige Beckers to take Sabally, and she took A'ja Wilson with her third pick. If A'ja had fallen any further down the board, that would have been a wee bit of a controversy, if we're being real about it. But Clark picked her, I think, just in time to avoid that. I'm sure some people are still talking about it a little bit.
The way she chose her roster was a masterclass in confidence and awareness. With every pick, it became obvious that this wasn't just about basketball skill or stats, though she made sure to draft plenty of that. This was also about chemistry and loyalty.
Fee, Stewart, Alicia Gray, Aneka Ogwumike, and Paige. They got 2 guards and 3 power forwards on that roster for Team Collier. Caitlin Clark actually has a complete roster to start her team. She's got Caitlin Clark at the 1, Sabrina Ionescu at the 2, Satu Sabally at the 3. She must have heard the chatter in the offseason of fans saying, let's get Satu Sabally. I'm just saying, she might have heard a thing or two.
Fans quickly caught on to her strategy and started calling it team vibes or no ops allowed, because she made it a point to avoid anyone who had spoken negatively about her in the past or who had been part of the constant criticism she's faced all year.
Clark, Boston, Ionescu, Wilson, Sabally, Mitchell, Gabby Williams. I love Gabby Williams. What a player. Sonia Citron, Kiki Iriafen, Jackie Young, Thornton, Kayla Thornton from the Valkyries. So Clark should have a very fast team there.
Her first pick set the tone, Aaliyah Boston. Not only is Boston a dominant presence on the court, but she's also Caitlin's Indiana Fever teammate and one of her biggest allies.
Sabrina Ionescu at the 2, Satu Sabally at the 3. She must have heard the chatter in the offseason of fans saying, let's get Satu Sabally. I'm just saying, she might have heard a thing or two.
Then came Sabrina Ionescu, a veteran who was one of the few established stars to welcome Caitlin with open arms during her rookie season, even when others wouldn't. After that came A'ja Wilson, the reigning superstar of the WNBA, and someone you simply can't pass up.
Other than A'ja Wilson, because as Ken Swift's graphic says, Team Caitlyn, no ops allowed, except Aja. We ain't stupid. Aja's that good. Yeah, you're picking Aja Wilson.
Even Caitlyn joked that you'd have to be crazy to leave Aja off your team. And finally, she rounded out her starting lineup with Satu Sabali, another vocal supporter of Caitlyn, and someone who's been enthusiastic about the league's new wave of fans brought in because of her.
And she had it coming. Now all we need is Caitlin Clark's team to win. And if I don't know if y'all caught it or not, but she definitely said Sandy likes to shoot threes and run. Like, yo, Stephanie White, you might want to be careful out there.
When the dust settled, Caitlyn's starting five looked unstoppable. Herself at point guard, Boston controlling the paint, Ionescu and Sabali adding versatility and shooting, and Wilson anchoring both ends of the floor.
When you look at it, I mean, Williams is really fast for a forward. Obviously, Kelsey's very fast. Citron's very fast. Jackie Young's one of my favorite players. Iriafin, a rookie, can get up and down the floor. Ionescu can help spread the floor along with Kelsey and Clark.
It was clear she wasn't just building a team to compete. She was building a team to dominate, but she didn't stop there. Her bench choices showed just as much intention. She picked Kelsey Mitchell, another Fever teammate who's been nothing but supportive of her.
Gabby Williams, she picked nobody that's tweeted a negative thing about her. She's picked nobody that has said a negative thing about her in the media. She picked none of her rivals.
Gabby Williams, who's never had a bad word to say about her.
She made sure there were no ops on her team. If she's played with a player before, like Sonia Citron, she picked her.
Sonia Citron, who she'd won championships with before, and solid, dependable players like Jackie Young, Kiki Iriafin, and Kayla Thornton. All of them fit into her vision of positivity, teamwork, and no unnecessary drama.
She actually passed up on Paige Beckers to take Sabali, and she took Aja Wilson with her third pick. If Aja had fallen any further down the board, that would have been a wee bit of a controversy, if we're being real about it. But Clark picked her, I think, just in time to avoid that. I'm sure some people are still talking about it a little bit.
Even more telling was who she didn't pick. Notably missing from her team were players who've publicly criticized her, players who have tried to undermine her rise to stardom, and players who have fed into the narrative that she doesn't belong at the top yet. She left those names for her rival captain, Nafisa Collier, and focused on creating the kind of environment she wanted. One where she didn't have to look over her shoulder or wonder if her teammates truly had her back.
The picking between the players was a lot of fun, and Caitlin Clark also wound up with all of the Fever members on her squad as well, meaning Aaliyah Boston, Clark, and Kelsey Mitchell will be a trio in Indianapolis for All-Star.
In one night, Caitlin Clark didn't just draft a team. She sent a message to the entire league. She knows who's real and who isn't, and she's not afraid to make the hard choices to protect her peace, build her legacy, and lead a team that reflects her values. What Caitlin did was more than savvy. It was symbolic. She didn't just build a roster designed to win on the scoreboard. She built a roster designed to win the respect of fans, show her resilience, and prove she knows exactly what it takes to thrive under pressure.
Man, I mean, Caitlin was like, look, you say something like that, I don't want you on my team. I don't want you on my team. Go on about your business, man. I'm trading the coach. I'm good with my entire team, but I don't want your coach.
If Caitlin Clark's decision to fire Cheryl Reeve was bold, the aftermath was even more fascinating. In the minutes and hours that followed the draft, it became clear that Caitlin's move had shaken the room, and Cheryl Reeve most of all.
To be completely honest, I love my team. I think they're great. I don't have any intentions of really trading any of them. I don't know if this is in the rules. I don't really care. But I think we've already discussed we are going to trade coaches. Bee's going to take her coach. Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rule. Sorry, ESPN, if that's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule.
We have breaking news here. I don't know that I've heard of a coach being traded in the All-Star game.
When Caitlin calmly announced, "We're going to trade coaches," Reeve's reaction was impossible to hide. On camera, she tried to play it off with a forced smile, but her eyes told the real story.
This is something that you're agreeing to, Fee. There's no terms to this deal.
I agree with Cheryl, I agree with the trade. I love Cheryl, she's my coach here. And you know what, that's just gonna be worse for Team Clark because now we got more chemistry on our side, we got more synergy, we know what we expect from each other, so that was a bad move on your part, Caitlin, we're taking you down.
Oh!
You could see the tension. This wasn't just a lighthearted swap to her. It was a very public reminder of the rift that's been growing for months.
The same way you didn't give two shits about Caitlin Clark's fan base and all that, don't nobody give two shits about your crying. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that you're coaching Caitlin Clark team, I don't understand why you had to make it a big deal and say, oh, well, this team's below us to have more plays and us and it's disappointing. And like, what are you talking about?
Reeve has been one of Caitlin's loudest critics since she entered the league. From dismissing her popularity and questioning her level of play, to deleting controversial tweets and denying involvement in her Olympic snub, Reeve has never fully embraced Caitlin the way so many others have.
Like, you already kept her off the Olympics. Now you're going to complain about her having more teammates than your players on the court. Yeah, get the fuck off this team. Embarrassing. I know she was embarrassed. I don't care what nobody say. I know she was embarrassed.
So when Caitlin fired her on live TV in front of millions, the dynamic completely flipped. For once, Reeve wasn't in control. The fallout came quickly. Clips of the moment went viral within minutes, fans flooding social media to celebrate Caitlin's audacity, tweets calling it the most gangster move in WNBA history, and the ultimate clapback trended throughout the night.
It's all bullshit. It's a waste of time. And I don't see Clark literally sitting here wasting her talents because Stephanie White became, you know what I'm saying, the coach. I just don't see that happening, man. Like, that's just me. That's just me. But I definitely caught that jab right there. She wants to run and shoot threes, point blank, period. You know what I'm saying? And she said this plenty of times already.
Many fans pointed out how satisfying it was to see Caitlin, who's endured so much criticism and condescension, finally stand up for herself and take charge of her narrative. For Reeve, it had to be embarrassing. Not only was she publicly rejected, but she now had to coach the rival team alongside players who were aligned against Caitlin.
The drama is going to come from Reeve having previously been critical on social media about the amount of attention Clark received relative to the rest of the league.
Many of whom had also been vocal critics of her. It was almost poetic. Reeve, who once held all the power, now found herself on the outside of Caitlin's spotlight, coaching the very team that Caitlin was determined to beat. Even fellow players couldn't help but comment on the tension. One joked on the broadcast,
So, Sandy Brondello, come on over.
Whoa!
Let's get to it. You can coach Sabrina. So therefore, maybe Stewie wants to come on over to my team.
Whoa.
Let me know. Fee, you want to give me Stewie?
oh, the coaches might just be the X factor here, hinting at the obvious friction between Reeve and Clark. Another noted that Reeve looked like she was crying inside but trying to keep her composure. Caitlin, meanwhile, handled the whole situation with remarkable poise. She didn't gloat or rub it in. She just smiled, stuck to her decision, and moved on to building her team.
All right, if y'all didn't necessarily watch that video, she was basically talking about how some teams had 3 All-Stars and they only had 2. And she was saying not only, it was a team that was a little below them and then a team way below them. That's what she said that triggered me to think, yeah, that's the Indiana Fever she's talking about.
That quiet confidence only amplified the impact of her move. What Caitlin did that night wasn't just about choosing a coach who fit her style better. It was about reclaiming her space and reminding everyone, teammates, coaches, fans, even her critics, that she refuses to be disrespected.
You know what I'm saying? Kayla Thornton's been balling out there in Golden State. She's been balling. I like Gabby Williams. Kelsey is Kelsey. I think Team Clark should actually be winning this, but we have a lot of guards. I feel like.
Even by someone as established as Cheryl Reeve. In the aftermath, fans have rallied behind her even more, seeing her not only as a phenomenal player, but as someone unafraid to stand up to the politics and personalities of the league. It's rare to see a rookie take such a strong stand so early in her career, but Caitlin proved once again why she's different, why she's already becoming the face of women's basketball.
And you remember when Caitlin was in Minnesota last year, she had a little extra spice after one of the baskets, because Cheryl Reeve's a great coach, don't get me wrong. And she doesn't bite her tongue, which you noticed after the WNBA finals when she said it was stolen from the Lynx. There's no questioning her acumen, and certainly she'll speak her mind. But there's got to be something in the back of Caitlin's mind that still feels a little miffed, even if Reeve wasn't directly responsible for her not making the Olympic squad.
Caitlin Clark didn't just show up to the WNBA All-Star Draft. She owned it. In one unforgettable night, She fired her hater coach, built a dream team full of loyalty and talent, and sent a message to the entire league. She's not just here to play the game, she's here to change it. By standing up for herself and refusing to let anyone diminish her,
Caitlin Clark's back in business right before the All-Star game, right before All-Star weekend, so everybody, don't panic.
she proved once again why she's more than just a rookie sensation. She's a leader, a fighter, and the future of this league. Now the stage is set.
Fever versus everyone energy. But, Clark and Collier, Collier has become such a star in the last year or so and is the MVP favorite. So seeing whose team comes out on top, I think fans are invested in that.
Team Caitlin versus Team Collier. A battle not just of skill, but of pride and respect. If you're 100% Team Caitlin and believe she made the right call, drop your support in the comments below and let the world know where you stand. The All-Star game is about to get personal, and Caitlin Clark is ready to shine.